What's up, gamers? It's your boy, TheSmithPlays, and welcome back to another video on Fortnite Battle Royale. Hey, what's up, guys? So today we're finally tackling the most, I think, requested video of 2019 on this channel, and that is ranking every block location. Or I guess ranking every block creation. Every 2 weeks or so, Epic adds in a new spot for the block, and you guys really want these to be ranked. So I reached out to you, asked what you thought, and the results are in, yeah. There's some actually really good block locations, but there's also been some really terrible ones. So it's gonna be fun to rip into those. Now, last thing, please just, if you could, subscribe to the channel. That'd be great, and let's do it. All right, so coming in at number 15 as the lowest spot on this list, we have Looming Llama. Looming Llama got 1,625 votes, which is actually really not that low, but at the end of the day, it is still the lowest. Looming Llama is a very cool creation and a very bad location. Damn! But the one thing I really don't understand about this spot is that it's like a gecko lizard type animal, and it's called llama, and I think they just wanted to be stupid. Like, I think they're just like, let's call this lizard a llama. Or maybe I'm stupid, but it looks like not a llama to me. Regardless, it was a very weird block location and awful to drop just because it didn't have a lot of loot. It's really high up, hard to get to, hard to get down from. Yeah, I think this is a fairly put spot for our bottom. Now moving on to number 14, this is going to be Oily Oaks with 1,746 votes. Now, looking at Oily Oaks, it actually really feels like one of the earlier block locations, but I think it was like 8th or so to be released. I guess Oily Oaks is supposed to be an oil drilling station, but it's very, it's just not a special spot. I actually really did like it because it gave me vibes of OG Factory, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't a very standout spot. Loot was like kind of whatever, and overall, it was just a very bland spot. Now coming in at number 13, this was the first location actually ever introduced to the block with 1,928 votes. We have Grimy Greens. Grimy Greens was the first ever location, so you gotta give it a little bit of leeway, but it just didn't really hit. It was a greenhouse, so kind of a cool concept, but I just don't think that it was like special enough, I guess. It's just another place that's not very standout. There's nothing overly special about it, and on top of that, really, it didn't have good loot again. I remember dropping to the block for the first time here and just being like, okay, I know where nothing is. There was like one chest per building, and it was just very, very garbage. And I would say that's actually been an issue with a lot of block locations, is just people don't know how much loot to put in because they're not epic, and then you just run into the issue of like, there are 3 chests in this entire dropping spot, which can be very difficult when it's a new block creation and people are all trying to go there to check it out. Number 12 with 2,077 votes, we have Harmony Hotel. Okay, so this is one that I'm actually very surprised to see. I really like this block creation. While it's similar to Lucky Landing, I would actually argue that it is aesthetically better than Lucky. You've got like the little koi pond all around that you can just walk straight over. Very, very cool. And it's just a nice looking spot. Loot is not overly bad. It's got a legendary chest, which definitely helps. And I really question why this didn't get voted higher. Now, it was just released in March, so my guess is most likely that people are just kind of unfamiliar with it because it's one of the newer ones, but I'm still very surprised. Grimy Greens was the first ever. You would think that one would stand out, but it has not at all. Anyways, Harmony Hotel is the first one on this list that I really liked, and I'm kind of sad to see it rank so low. All right, now moving on to our number 11 spot with 2,080 votes. This is Turtle Temple. This is just a giant metal turtle. This is the weirdest creation that we have seen featured on the block. Turtle Temple is probably my favorite weird creation. Like, the gecko didn't really work, or Looming Llama, I should say. This one is just absolutely ridiculous, but it does kind of work. It's not good for fights because it's very easy to fall to your death, obviously, but it is just kind of a neat, fun thing they decided to add in. The huge problem with Turtle Temple, again, though, is the loot. This place just like, it was tough to find chests, and the chests that you did find were few and far in between. But man, was this place ever wacky. Just a really fun and silly place to drop. And one last thing is that I'm also surprised this did so low. I really thought people were going to vote it high just because it is ridiculous. With 2,320 votes coming in at our number 10 spot, we have Risky Runways. Risky Runways was the second creation added to the block, and again, I would argue that this place was pretty poop. I don't understand why this got added because like we already have Risky Reels. No, not Risky Reels. No. We already have Frosty Flights. So why would they just add in another airport type location? I don't know if it was for the promotion of planes or what, but it just doesn't make sense. This is one of those spots that really was never a standout location to me. I don't find that it was good, but I don't find that it was bad either. It was just pretty bland. I would argue though that Harmony Hotel and the Turtle deserve to be higher just because they were cooler. Anyways, moving on to our number 9 spot, we have Tropical Treetops. Now, you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find gameplay of this place, but it was tough. Tropical Treetops got 2,430 votes, and it was a cool place. I actually don't know because I never dropped here myself, but looking from it looked unique. Jungly, cool vibe, and I'm guessing just because it doesn't have much gameplay that this wasn't a very standout spot. It almost gives me a vibe of like Moisty Mire when it had all the crew set up around it, but like instead of a film location having a bunch of just buildings. Anyways, kind of a weird one. All right, now just beating out the treetops with 2,442 votes, we have Colossal Compound. This is one that I really like. It's a creation that also happens to be a good spot. The Gecko is a great comparison, okay? It's this cool creation that you just can't really get up to because everything is up in the air and there's just these little feet that are going up to it. This is a tank, okay? It's basically just a really big tank, but you can actually drop here, go through the tank, and it just serves as being a really large building. Like, it's not just a cool creation, it also serves as being a good spot. Now moving on to number 7, this is going to be the 4th ever added location to the block, and this is DM Arena. DM Arena got 2,517 votes, and in my opinion is one of the worst ever locations. I feel like this was trying to be a bouncy castle, like trick-shotting place, and it just did not become that at all. Very few chests and poorly placed bouncers made this very, very difficult to maneuver and actually loot. It was built up very high, so it made you feel like, oh, this is crazy, but it was just so hard to get up to the higher locations that, like, they didn't really serve a purpose. Looting was awful, and while it looked cool, and that's probably why it was voted fairly high, it really wasn't a good block location. Now, coming in at number 6, this is actually very interesting. It's Mysterious Markets. Mysterious Markets got 2,794 votes, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see this. This was the 3rd creation added to the block, and it was, in my opinion, the first creation that was actually unique and decent. The greenhouse and runway was just like boring and not special, and this was something that while it wasn't extreme or crazy or anything, it actually felt like, wow, this is just another location that could have been added into Fortnite. It had this really cool underground system, it had lots of different areas to loot, and actually pretty good loot for that matter. And in my opinion, it is a really good spot of the block. It was kind of like the marking point of what the block would become. I feel like in general, the block has been a bit of a failure. I don't see a lot of people often dropping here, but in my opinion, this was one of those places that was actually quite good. And actually, just as a side note, I feel like the biggest issue with the block is that it's unfamiliar. The problem with the block is that you don't want to drop there because you're at a major disadvantage if you don't know how to loot it. And there's not much incentive to learn how to loot it because you know it's only going to be removed within a matter of weeks. And I would say the block locations that have managed the best are the ones that make looting most easy and obvious. They're the ones that have chests in intuitive spots that are similar to the rest of the map. We've kind of got an idea now of like, okay, there's usually a chest in the rooftop of the building and like in these other weird areas, and there's places where just chests never really spawn. But the ones that have very little loot or just loot in really stupid areas always often fare bad. A little bit of a tangent, but the point is that I feel like Mysterious Markets actually did this quite well, and it lent itself to just play like every other location plays. Anyways, coming in at number 5, starting the top 5, we've got Lunar Street Festival. Lunar Street Festival just edged out our last spot with 2,809 votes. So I believe that Lunar Street Festival was added in for Chinese New Year, and on that notion, this actually really makes a lot of sense. It was basically just added in for that, and it really is just a bigger Lucky Landing. I personally think Harmony Hotel is way better than this one, but this was the first one, and I'm guessing that actually now that I'm going through this, like that's probably why people didn't vote for Harmony Hotel. I think Harmony Hotel was a little bit more unique with the koi pond all around it, but this spot is understandably getting ranked pretty high. It's large and for that reason had a lot of capacity to loot. But again, I question like it really wasn't that original. Actually, now that I think of it, a lot of these places aren't that original, but I mean, it just kind of is what it is. It's hard to make an educated guess as to why people vote for what they do in most of these cases. Anyways, moving on to our number 4 spot. This is Skull Island. Skull Island got 2,824 votes and is actually one of the more recent places to come out. Skull Island is a very fitting location for the theme of Season 8, and that's obviously why they put it in. Now, I will be completely honest to admit that I have not actually dropped here myself, but from what I hear, it is a generally quite good place. Both aesthetically, I mean, it looks absolutely amazing in the gameplay you're seeing, but also it seems as though it's a fairly good spot to loot. I think that with a lot of these places, people don't necessarily drop there just for the loot, but obviously if you don't have enough loot, it's going to just make that area suffer. Yeah, and no, again, I've never actually played this myself, but I really like Skull Island. I think it looks phenomenal, and I wish I had actually dropped there. Now moving on to our number 3 spot, I think this is a really good pick. We have the Omega Pyramid. The Omega Pyramid got 3,163 votes, and really, again, truly is one of the best ever block locations. It's a standout spot just because of what it was. Just this giant pyramid with the light going up into the sky. The mystery box, you know what I'm saying, Zombies players, okay? You know. If you know, you know. But more importantly, this place had really good loot. That's like the thing that stands out to me about this place. I remember dropping here for the first time and like just always thinking, here we go, like gonna get like one chest and just being very pleasantly surprised with all that good floor loot in the middle. I don't really quite remember what it was like up top in the area, but overall, like, cool concept and actually viable spot to drop. All the chests were in spots that made sense for there to be a chest. There was a lot of chests, and even kind of more cool is I remember there was a snipers only mode out during this block location, and it was really fun to do snipers only in this spot. Random, I know, but I don't know. It just felt like a snipers only weird place, so yeah. Coming in number 2, we have Cryptic Castle. With 4,172 votes, this is obviously a place of high notoriety, I think most importantly because it was the first location to be featured in Season 8 with the location changing over to where the motel used to be. I'm kind of on a real run-on sentence and rambling, but basically the Cryptic Castle is a noteworthy spot. And it's also important to note that this was the first location which actually featured a legendary chest that basically gives you what a supply drop gives you. While I like this spot, my biggest concern was that it was really it just felt like an extension of Polar Peak. I think that's another important thing to note with the block is a lot of the time the good locations are just extensions of pre-existing locations. Like Harmony Hotel is one of my favorites, and I guess you could also tie in Lunar Street Festival, but really it's just very similar to Lucky Landing. Same with Cryptic Castle being like very close to Polar Peak. Even Mysterious Markets kind of uses like the retail row assets. But the one thing I will say about Cryptic Castle is it absolutely does give you good loot. I feel like the block has just faced a lot of issues, like being repetitive, but I don't feel like a lot of people drop here, and people aren't motivated to drop there, again, just because of like the loot. This was a highly requested video, I think, because people wanted to look back on all the locations, but I really don't see a lot of people often dropping here. But with all that being said, Cryptic Castle obviously was one of the more noteworthy spots within the block. Now, real quick before we do get down to number 1, I just wanted to also mention Mysterious Mansion. Not Mysterious Markets, but Mysterious Mansion was just added in this week, and I thought that it might be a little bit too preemptive to actually add it in. One, because it might be very fresh in people's mind, and it's the only one people can recognize, and then they'll all just go vote it. Or the complete opposite, where it's just only been in for like a few days and no one's gonna recognize it, so it's gonna get placed super low. I don't have a place for it either myself yet, so if you guys have an idea of where you think this should be, like, is it really bad? Is it really good? Let me know down below. But I just wanted to kind of give that a little honorable mention as to why it's not on the list yet. Anyways, coming down to our number 1 spot. I can't believe this is it. It is Colosseum with 6,454 votes. This is a good pick. I like this pick. I'm happy with this pick. It's one of the very few locations that kind of satisfies all the issues that the block has had. It's got good loot and loot where you would expect it to be, and it's unique. I mean, we've already seen actually 2 stadiums, the open soccer stadium and the closed one that is right beside Tilted, but this is like a very large Superdome, and it's very unique to Fortnite still. Although we've seen things similar, we've never seen anything exactly like this, and I think that really shows why this is a good location. The other thing that a lot of people might not notice is it actually takes a lot of assets from the factory that's like way down in the snowy region of the map. The whole roof is like the DJ room or whatever. It takes a bunch of different assets, throws it all together, and it just doesn't feel like just an extension of Polar Peak or just an extension of Lucky Landing. It feels like a truly unique spot. And it's actually good. Like, it's got good loot, it's cool. So for all of those reasons, like, I think that's basically why this is so popular. Also, the obvious fact that it's just a giant dome that really stands out and people can easily recognize it, all goes into making this a very likable location. And it's probably the best pun that Fortnite has ever made. Anyways, that is our video for today. If you guys did enjoy and you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, leave a like. And I am going to Spain, actually. So I won't see you guys for the next week. If you're watching this, I just finished my exams. I'm going to visit a friend in Barcelona. And no, I won't be doing a meetup if anyone lives there, but if I see you, I see you. That is basically it. I'll see you guys at the end of April. Yeah, I'm done my undergrad. Like, not right now, but if you're watching this video, it means I'm done my undergrad. Whoa.